Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, Thailand Bound. If you haven't been here before, my name's Peter. I talk about all things Thailand, and today I'm going to be reading out 4 viewers' stories. Now, just to let you know, the first 3 stories are brand new to my channel. They've never been read out before. The 4th story I actually read out in 2021, so what's that, about 4 years ago. Always running short of stories, so if you're sitting on a story, if you'd like to share a story with myself and my viewers, I'd be happy to change it a little bit, make it anonymous, and you too can hear your story read out right here on Thailand Bound. Let's not waste time. Let's jump into the first of 4 stories this morning.
สวัสดีค่ะ
My first visit to Thailand was in 1996, which was also my first trip abroad. It was late April when I stepped out of the plane at Dong Mueang Airport and the tropical heat wrapped around me like a blanket, and by the end of that day I was already addicted to it because that heavy humid air felt like a sauna, and the more time I spent outside, the more I loved it. Bangkok, or Krung Thep, was a very different city back then, with fewer skyscrapers, more open sky, and buildings standing further apart. There was no BTS yet, only the first concrete columns going up, which added even more confusion to the endless traffic jams. Street food stalls were everywhere, and the air was filled with the smell of grilled chicken, fried garlic, and adventure. The markets were full of souvenirs I have not seen in years, things like fake Rolex watches, coloured butterflies in frames, stingray skin, wallets, teak wood, elephants, and displays of giant beetles. The road to Pattaya was narrow and slow compared to today. Jomtien was almost empty, with the Pattaya Park Hotel and the tower still under construction, along with the water park and maybe a couple of other buildings, and there was no beach road, only sand and coconut palms. Pattaya had no Indian shops or clubs, and Walking Street was far quieter than it is now. Foreigners were rare. One afternoon, at a small beach cafe, a few Thai girls were serving food, and they kept looking at me and laughing until one of them came over, smiling, and took my hand to compare it to hers. My hand could hold a basketball, and hers looked like a child's, and they all burst out laughing, and somehow we all felt happy without saying anything. A few days later, the US Navy arrived and bars put up signs saying, "Welcome, US Navy," and the whole city turned into one huge party. The drinking sailors went wild, shouting, drinking, and throwing themselves down the water park slides while the lifeguards just watched. I still remember one guy launching himself off a slide and somehow landing back on it instead of flying out. Even with all that madness, there was no aggression, only pure joy and energy, and that is why I fell in love with Thailand and kept coming back. The main story I want to tell you is about my trip to Trang. It was my 3rd time in Thailand, and I flew into Bangkok at the end of September 2004 when the weather was warm but not as hot as April. I met my friend who lived in Bangkok at the time, and we brought snorkeling gear at Ocean World in Siam before heading to a famous street that I now cannot remember the name of. But I remember where the huge massage complexes stood with aquariums at the entrance and girls sitting on raised platforms behind the glass with numbers pinned to their clothes. We later discovered the only vehicle was an old motorcycle with a side platform for luggage. By the time we checked in and made our way back to the pier, the tide had gone out and the boats were lying on the sand, and most of the locals had vanished. By luck, we found a boat owner and hired him for a full day trip the next morning. We went back to Charlie Resort, had a swim in Charlie Bay, and went to sleep early. We woke up before sunrise and met the boat owner, who I will call Captain because I cannot remember the real name. We set off, and the first place we visited was a famous cave known as the Emerald Cave. Like many islands in the American Sea, the ocean side has steep rocky cliffs, and the opposite side has sandy beaches. We travelled along the cliffs, which rose like a giant wall, and somewhere inside that wall was the cave. During high tide, the entrance is underwater, so you have to dive under to get in. After entering, you stand in a dark chamber, and without a light, you can barely see anything. You walk through the water for about 30 meters, turn a corner, and suddenly daylight appears and you step into an inner lagoon. You stand at the bottom of a giant rock, where half is lagoon for swimming and the other half is a small sandy beach. It stays shaded most of the day because the sun only reaches the bottom around noon. After spending some time there, we continued to Koh Crandan, where we saw many colourful sea stars, and then moved on to a few more spots where corals and fish. When the day ended, we went to Koh Nag and checked into a small resort. We decided to hire Captain for a few more days. Koh Nag Fantasy Resort was a lovely place with bungalows set in a quiet garden behind coconut trees. The next day, we went snorkeling again and noticed that the further north you go, the more people and boats you see, and the farther south you go, the quieter and wilder everything becomes. So we headed south. We talked with the captain about going further and gave him 1,000 baht extra to aim for a small island that we could barely see on the horizon. Halfway there, we saw dark clouds and lightning above the mainland, but because the wind was blowing from the sea towards the coast, we thought the storm was moving away from us. I told Captain we should turn back, but he insisted on continuing. We reached the island and the reef was beautiful and untouched. After snorkeling, we walked around and found large empty shells. As we began to leave, the weather changed quickly. The storm came straight at us and big waves started throwing the boat around. With the tide dropping, we kept hitting the reef, so we moved slightly away, but still stayed close to the island. Then the rain began, and it came down so hard that the boat filled with water fast. The three of us grabbed empty oil cans without handles and used them to scoop water out as quickly as we could. It felt like a battle because sometimes the rain seemed faster than us. After nearly an hour, the storm began to weaken. Another 30 minutes later, it finally eased, and the waves got smaller. We were exhausted. We agreed to stop the island exploring and headed to the mainland. The captain took us to Hat Yao Pier and we thanked him and said goodbye. The locals helped us find a car to Krabi, and by evening we reached Anang, where we checked in and fell asleep immediately. The next day we took a long-tail boat to Raleigh Beach and spent 2 days there recovering. After that we decided to visit Phi Phi Island and a few others like Bamboo and Goose. I had always wanted to rent a speedboat with powerful engines, so we hired one with two 200 horsepower engines. Later, near Phi Phi, I saw one with 3, which made me laugh. We started our trip, but the waves slowed us down. When we reached the first stop, I went into the bushes to change into my swimming shorts and set my bag on a table where nothing was nearby. When I reached inside the bag, there was a snake curled up in it. It was turquoise and black with a pattern and around 60 centimeters long. I hate snakes, so I grabbed a branch and moved it away carefully. After putting my shorts on, I tried to show the snake to the others by lifting it between 2 sticks, but the sticks broke and I dropped it. After a few more stops and some average snorkeling compared to Trang, we reached Koh Phi Phi and climbed up to the viewpoint for the famous view of the islands. It was only 2 months before the tsunami hit the place. Okay, good story there. So I can kind of relate to this story. When he's talking about 1996 in Bangkok, I was around that time, 96, 97. And I do remember going down to Pattaya, and it was a lot different to what it was today, to what it is today, rather. And the way he describes it is fairly accurate. You know, there wasn't as many tall buildings. Walking Street was a little bit more low, well, a lot more low-key than it is now. But, you know, things move on. Everybody goes forward, don't they? Including Thailand. Right, let's jump into story number 2. I do not pretend to know everything about bar girls, but after many years coming to Thailand, I have seen enough to understand the basic patterns, and in my experience, there are usually 2 types. The first type are the girls who genuinely enjoy nightlife and the excitement that comes with it. They love the bars, the loud music, the crowds, and the feeling that every night is a small celebration. They drink without worrying about tomorrow. They have 2 or 3 sponsors sending money each month, and they enjoy the comfort that comes with it. They always have the newest phone, the latest clothes, and enough cash to live above their real means. They laugh easily because their life is built on smoke and mirrors. But for them, it works and they enjoy it. Then there is the second type, and they are completely different. These are the girls who never wanted the bar scene at all, but ended up there because life pushed them into a corner. Maybe a father died, maybe a child needed school fees, maybe a farm failed or a brother started drinking too much and left them to carry the weight. They go into the bar not because they want excitement, but because they are desperate. They are looking for a boyfriend sponsor to take them out of the nightlife so they can stay home, look after their family and escape the noise and the lies. Jing was definitely one of these, and my friend Martin was exactly the kind of man girls like her look for. He was kind, soft, bad with money, and it was his first time in Thailand, so he did not understand the system at all. When he met her, she must have seen him like a lifeline. He saw her like the beginning of a romantic adventure. It was survival for her, not love. Martin used to tell me about Jing every day, and it was the usual stories that every man hears eventually. Sick buffalo, pregnancy scares, emergency bills, lost phone, broken motorbike, dying aunties, and all the same dramatic situations that appear in the Bar Girl handbook. I told him straight that he was wasting his time and money, but he insisted I was wrong and that she was different. He told me they had a real relationship while accusing me of wasting my money bar finding different girls for fun. But I come to Thailand to relax, not to play husband to a woman I barely know. Each are to their own. In the end, I stopped giving advice and because it was his life, and when they were not arguing, he seemed happy enough. This carried on for 5 or 6 years, including the whole COVID period. He kept sending her money every month while he sat alone in the cold back home, and she kept sending messages full of hearts and promises. He believed every word because he wanted to believe it. They met again once after COVID at the same bar where they first met. I went alone because the girl I liked could not stand either of them. I only planned to have one drink, but in that short time, Jing rang the bell again and again, laughing with her friends, while Martin ran to the ATM like a loyal customer. By then, she had mastered the game. He could not even see it. The darkness of the whole situation hit me more that night than ever before. He was proud to introduce me to his girlfriend, yet to her, he was just the next customer who lasted longer than the rest. And this is the part you can already predict. About a year ago, his financial situation suddenly changed. Within 2 months of losing money, he told me the relationship had ended. I asked why, and he snapped at me. He did not want to discuss it, but he knew the truth. So did I. I told him from the beginning, no money, no honey, and I said, wait and see what happens when you stop paying for everything. When the money stopped, the love dried up instantly. She vanished from his life like smoke. No goodbye, no explanation, nothing. I dread to think how much he wasted on her. Money comes and money goes, but the time he lost is gone forever. Time is more valuable than money. People learn that too late. When he told me it was over, I did not say I told you so. I just thought it. He would not have listened anyway. I hope I do not sound big-headed or bitter because I was not trying to ruin his fun. I was trying to stop another slow-motion crash that everyone else could see except him. I've heard too many stories over the years, some funny, some heartbreaking, and some that end in disaster. I listen to people with more experience than me because experience takes time and no one is immune from mistakes. I have fallen for bar girl tricks myself more than once. I know how fast it can happen. So when I warned him, it came from a place of understanding, not judgment. As for my girl and me, yes, we took a break for a while, but now we are back together and it has been more than 16 years. We have a simple and easy relationship. We both know where we stand. I am mentioning it because someone commented on your channel asking about it, so I wanted to clear that up. Life has taught me that people will believe what they want to believe, especially when they are lonely, and that is what happened to Martin. He walked straight into a story that thousands of men have lived before him, and like most of them, he only understood the truth when it was too late. Thanks for reading out my story. So another tragic story there, but it happens, doesn't it? I've had experiences where friends have come to Thailand for the first time and they've met bar girls, and I've sat down with them and I've told them how it works and what the girl's up to, but nobody listens. You can give them all the warnings in the world. They can watch as many YouTube videos as they want before they come here. But when these girls play their tricks, they're very good at what they do. And guys, until they get stung, they've got to learn the hard way. Right, let's jump into story number 3 of 4 this morning. This year, in October 2025, I had my birthday while staying in Thailand. I had scheduled stays in Pattaya, Qatar, Noi Phuket, and I had last-minute side trip on a speedboat to An Nong Krabi and back. Being a creature of habit, I stay at the same hotel or Airbnb and visit the same bars, clubs and restaurants because they have become familiar haunts. Doing this over the last few years has helped me get to know my hosts and servers at the various places I visit. There is no better feeling than arriving in Thailand and being welcome and recognised by name as a former guest or customer and being asked, "Where have you been?" We missed you and glad you are back, whether it is at a hotel, restaurant, bar, or even by a freelancer I once met. I do go to go-go bars, but only one or two that I enjoy and trust while in Pattaya and Phuket, bars where I've been many times and I know everyone well. The mamasan, the servers, the security teams and the DJs are the backbone of the industry. It helps to get to know them a little better, and many good conversations have happened over many drinks and lots of food. I am entertained just watching and listening to everything around me. At bars or clubs, I always buy drinks for the mamasan, a few girls, some of the staff and security, and I tend to tip well. It makes for a fun night and gets everyone involved, which creates a lot of memorable moments. The sense of appreciation I experience makes everything worthwhile to me. I am fortunate to have the resources to do this. You may ask, why am I so generous? In my past, I experienced a few severe economic situations that left me broke and homeless more than once. This was not from substance abuse, but from work layoffs in Silicon Valley, buying property, asset loss in a divorce, and a business that failed. Through luck, opportunity, and many years of hard work, I have now been able to retire. Through luck, opportunity, and many years of hard work, I have now been able to retire, and I am in the best position I have ever been in. Difficulty and struggle are no strangers to me. Even though I fly business class now and stay in high-end properties, my thoughts are often with the people who serve and support me because they do such a fantastic job every day. Many visitors to Thailand do not realise how low the pay is and how high the work demands are. It could be argued that in many cases the working conditions are close to illegal or even inhumane. Thousands leave their homes to escape poverty and earn money in places like Pattaya or Phuket in hopes of creating a better future for their families. It is not an easy existence. Relief for their situation is never instant or simple. When I can give someone even a moment of relief by buying a few drinks or sharing food and laughter, it is my way of paying it forward. This is a benevolent act, not me being taken advantage of by a bar. It is done with intent and purpose. I get a strong feeling of self-worth when I do this, and in a way it helps me deal with my past troubles by being kind and generous to the people I meet during rounds in Thailand. I get a kick out of being seen as the crazy old uncle who pops in once in a while and shares laughs and provides drinks and food when he can. It is not unusual for me to have 5 or 6 people at my table, all having fun, even if the moment is temporary. I no longer bar find girls or staff from the bars. I have written to Peter before with a couple of my bar girl experiences, and we all know how quickly those situations can go bad. I keep everything inside the bar and walk out alone at closing time. In the past, I was reluctant to approach freelancers because they are not traceable and can disappear into the night, and we have all heard stories about what can happen with the wrong freelancers. But one night on Bangla Road in October 2024, I was in a bit of a clip joint and the Manama-san made an outrageous demand for me to bar find one of her girls. So I declined and left. Against my better judgment, I began looking at freelancers as I was leaving Bangla Road. I saw a lady who looked older but cute and perky, small and petite, with darker skin, possibly in her 40s. She was not being grabby or pushy and was not trying to grab passing men, so I approached her. Her name was Mam, and I explained I was looking for strictly pay for play and told her exactly what I wanted. She was reluctant at first but agreed to come with me to Koh Noi, where I was staying. We quickly became comfortable with each other and everything went well in the aerobics department, and she stayed the night. I saw her again the next night in the same spot on Bangla Road and asked if she would like to come with me again, and she agreed, and we took a tuk-tuk back to Koh Noi. Once again, it was a great experience. After our last meeting, we did not exchange contact information and neither of us asked for it. A few months later, while back in the US, I joined Thai Friendly, hoping to meet more suitable women who were not bar girls or freelancers during my next visit. I wanted a simple night out with a lady to get to know each other and see how things might go. On Thai Friendly, I chatted with several interested women, but most were not local to Pattaya or Phuket, so there was no real opportunity to meet. One day, while scrolling, I saw a profile photo and thought she looked familiar. I scrolled back and looked closer. It was Mam. Her profile said, Mam, 42, Patong, looking to meet men, Patong only. There are many freelancers on Thai Friendly looking for customers, and I tried to avoid them, but Mam I had already knew. It was a pleasant surprise. I did not contact her immediately, but messaged her a couple of days later. I said, you might not remember me. My name is Harry. We met on Bangla Road and spent a couple of nights together last October. You came with me to Katanoi and we went skinny dipping in the pool at the villa. It took her a while to respond, but her reply was positive. She said, hi Harry, yes, it was bright moon nights. So beautiful, so nice, water's cold. Good to hear from you after this time. Where have you been? I told her I'd been at home in the US and I was returning to Patong for my birthday in October, 25, and asked if she was still there. She said yes, and that she now uses Thai Friendly to find more customers, as many girls do. I asked if she would be available in October 25 to meet again. She said she had to return home for a while to see her family, but would be back in Patong in September for work. She gave me her WhatsApp so I could contact her when I arrived. We ended up meeting 3 times on my last visit to Patong in October 25. We do not use WhatsApp for normal conversations or to say hello. It is strictly business and it works well. She is a cool lady and I enjoy her company. After spending time with Mam, I decided I would visit to go to bars for fun until closing and then look for a freelancer to meet. Being in Pattaya and not Bangla Road, this can be risky at 4 in the morning trying to find a freelancer on Beach Road. There were not many around and I walked for about 5 minutes with no luck. Then I heard a voice say, hey, you from across the street. She was half hidden behind a parked truck but looked appealing from what I could see, so I crossed the street to talk to her. She was tall, 5'7", short and athletic looking, much taller than most Thai women with dark attractive eyes that focus on you when she speaks. She told me her name was Pon Pon and that she was a freelancer. I lady, not ladyboy. I felt like I was rolling the dice, but she was honest. I explained what I was looking for, and before we even discussed a price, she said, I do what you like, even, and I will self-edit the rest because it was extremely direct. My first thought was, what am I getting myself into? I must be crazy. But it was too late to back out, so I continued. Pom Pom turned out to be quiet and giggly with limited English, and we had to use the translation app a couple of times. She turned out to be very skilled in all areas of aerobics, a true all-star in my opinion. She stayed fully engaged with no phone checking or distractions, only total focus on the workout. When she left in the morning, I asked for her WhatsApp and told her I would contact her only when in Pattaya if I needed a workout. She agreed. Before leaving Thailand, I saw her twice more. She is not only an all-star, but sets a gold medal standard. My trips to Thailand have always been enjoyable and the memories are priceless. I look forward to my next visit in April. Lots of fun and many hours with the people I have met and spent time with. Thailand is a land of smiles. Just remember to smile back. So that's a great story, isn't it? And it sounds like the guy's got it down to a T. You know, he comes here with plenty of finances. He doesn't get ripped off or scammed. He makes friends with everybody in the bars, has a thoroughly good time, and leaves with a good smile on his face. Very good. Right, okay, we're going to go into the fourth story for this morning. And as I said at the beginning of the upload, I have read this out in 2021. So if you're one of those guys you don't like to hear a story again, you can move on now. But a lot of guys are new to the channel since 2021, so worth reading a good story again. After many years of wanting to visit China and Shanghai in particular, I finally started the process of applying for a visa. This meant jumping through hoops, including an interview and significant expenses. However, I managed to secure my visitor's visa. Fast forward to March 2019, and I flew to Shanghai. I took a taxi from the airport into the city to the hotel where I was staying for the week. I was excited to be in China, and after checking in and showering, I headed to a park by the river. As I walked, I noticed that I was the only European among thousands of people. I began taking some photos on my phone of the downtown area across the river. As I was moving around, a young Chinese lady asked me if I could take her photo with her phone, which I duly did. She then asked if she could talk to me as she was an English student and liked to practice her English. I said yes. And after around 30 minutes of general chat, she suggested that we go for a drink nearby. I agreed as she was fun and friendly. We went to a basic cafe and sat down. I'm not really a drinker, so I ordered a Coke. She had a spirit of some description, and then peanuts and savouries were delivered, followed by more spirits. After around 20 minutes and her having 5 drinks, I was well aware that this was a con and made my excuses to leave. The girl then got the bill, and it was well over £100 in sterling. I don't panic normally, and I knew there was no way for me to get away easily. Being fairly streetwise, I only had the equivalent of £40 on me, as I never take out any more money than I'm prepared to lose. I offered her that and said, if you're not happy, you can call the police. After a debate between them, it was agreed that my £40 was enough. I left as quickly as I could and headed back to my hotel. The lady was determined, and she caught up with me and carried on if all was normal. Asking where we were going now, I said, I've got no money on me, so back to my hotel. She was more determined to extract more money from me, and I didn't want her to know my room number, so I headed to the hotel's executive lounge. We sat down and had afternoon tea, and boy, could she put it away. After around 45 minutes, she asked me who was paying for the food and drink. I said, well, it's you. The look on her face was disguised terror. After about 5 minutes, she said, I'm going to the toilet, and she was gone. I did forget to mention to her that the executive lounge was included in my hotel rate. Come morning, I wasn't happy about the way I was conned, so in the afternoon around the same time, I went back to the park to see if I could find her and politely asked for the money for the afternoon tea. Needless to say, she was nowhere to be seen. But I did notice 3 Chinese men following me. I thought, was it my imagination, or was I really being followed? So I adopted an erratic walking pattern, sometimes fast, then slow, then doubling back on myself. They were always there, but never together, and all had their eyes on me. I even made eye contact several times to let them know I was aware of them, but this didn't deter them one bit. I was now concerned for my safety and was looking for an escape route. I was reasonably safe in the crowd, but I couldn't allow myself to get isolated. I sat on a low wall near the road. I don't know if you have been there and know the area on your travels. One of them sat next to me and offered me a cigarette, but I shook my head, no thanks. Now I was trapped and I didn't know what to do. As I mentioned earlier, I don't normally panic, but I was coming close. I could smell the menace. We had a Mexican standoff. I couldn't move and they couldn't act on their intent. What seemed like a lifetime, we remained in deadlock. Then, to my utter relief, 2 police officers came patrolling by. I jumped up and walked alongside them under the watchful eye of the 3 men. I looked back and they remained where they were. I made my escape and went back to the hotel. Needless to say, I kept well away from the park until I left Shanghai. On a side note, I did go back to the park on Sunday to see the mums and dads trying to marry off their daughters. There were at least 100 people there with signs advertising their daughters only in Chinese. Okay, that's the end of that story. What I would have liked to have known, because I don't really know the answer to this, was the 3 guys that were following. What were they going to do to him? Were they going to isolate him and then mug him, get his wallet, or was there some scam involved? If anybody else who's listening to this story has had an experience like this in China and you know what the outcome would have been, please let us know. Drop that in the comments and I'll let everybody know. Or everybody can read the comments and we can find out what their intentions were. Sounds like a very dangerous park to me. A lot of scammers and a lot of people. I don't know if it's somewhere I would want to go. Probably not. Okay, look, guys, thanks for listening to my, your stories again. And hopefully we'll have some more news stories for you next Saturday. For now, have a good week and I'll catch up with you once again with some more stories. Thanks for listening.